I watch this man on election nights.
Multiple.
Yes. Plural. Truly enjoy his work, and it was a delight yesterday to see him on Football Night in America, Sunday Night Football, especially at halftime, breaking down the playoff probabilities like it was a vote count in Maricopa County. He is none other than NBC News and MSNBC national political correspondent, as he's known on his Twitter feed, Steve Kornacki. How are you, Steve?
Rich, I'm doing well. How you doing?
What a pleasure to talk to you. What a pleasure to talk to you, sir. Was this like a dream? I imagine for somebody who does what you do for a living to be on halftime and to be a part of Sunday Night Football has got to be a feather in your career cap, Steve.
Honestly, yeah, no, and thanks for having me on here, and thanks for those nice words. This was a thrill. They, the folks at NBC Sports had, got in touch with me a couple weeks ago, and I was just kind of waiting for them to think wiser of it and call the whole thing off. So I was just thrilled that it actually happened. That I got the chance. I've been a football fan, NFL fan, really my whole life, and just I think the idea of kind of a road to the playoffs, playing out the scenarios, the probabilities, the what if this team wins but this team loses. As we were putting it together, it occurred to me it seemed to kind of flow very naturally.
Yes.
In a way I wasn't necessarily expecting from, what I was doing with the election and just road to 270 and probabilities. And if this candidate wins this state but loses that state, there really did seem to be kind of an overlap there. So I had a blast doing it and really feel lucky I got the chance.
Well, did anybody contest the results, Steve? Did you get anybody demanding a recount last night?
I got to say, I do think some of the there were some Vikings fans maybe who didn't like the probability. We have our partner, Pro Football Focus,
yes,
that puts the probabilities together. I think despite Minnesota, moving into that final playoff spot in the NFC yesterday ahead of Arizona, the PFF model still favors Arizona in terms of making the playoffs. So I think there might have been some folks in Minnesota who didn't like that number.
So they were looking for more of a batch in Hennepin County? Is that the phrase? Would that be?
There you go. You're
huh?
Yeah, Hennepin County, or maybe up in the Iron Range. I don't know.
See, I'm feeling my oats too, because again, I feel like I could tell you all the counties where everybody's all these stadiums are in right now, and. It just in terms of your sports fandom, I have been told, you're from Mass, right? You're from Massachusetts, correct?
That's right. Yep. Grew up just about 30 miles outside Boston.
So you, Steve Kornacki, are a New England Patriots fan. Is that a fact?
Yeah, it's. I've learned that's a very polarizing thing to tell people, and I just try to remind folks. There was a time the Patriots weren't a dynasty, and they struggled to get 20,000 fans in the stadium. But I was a fan back then, so I feel I've earned some of the fun we've had the last 2 decades.
So you were freezing your butt off on the metal benches of Foxborough, is basically what you're saying, Steve, right?
Yeah, I was 1988. Doug Flutie was the quarterback for a season, and it was kind of a magical time to be a Patriots fan, but it was nothing like it is right now.
I mean, the Brady years had to have been quite something for a Patriot fan to take all in. Have you been to any of those Super Bowls, Steve? Have you gone to any of those?
No, I've never been to the Super Bowl. No, just regular
word.
Season games and watching the Super Bowls. But I mean, yeah, it truly, I think as everybody knows, for the Pats, it just came out of nowhere. I mean, it was you went from Drew Bledsoe being the quarterback of a 5-11 team to this guy Brady coming in one day, and then 2 decades later, it just the winning continued, and it just came totally out of the blue, and it is like it's one of those things where I have to remind people, and I think I'm getting to a certain age here where there's folks who've younger folks who've come up as NFL fans not knowing anything but the Patriots being a dynasty, but there was a long period there, as people my age and older know, when that just wasn't the case.
Steve Kornacki, NBC News political correspondent here on the Rich Eisen Show. So, are you going to do this again? It's not a one-off,
I think
right?
so. Yeah, I mean, great feedback last night, and I think we're talking about continuing it next week, and I think we'll kind of take a look and review the game film, see where we can improve, see what we can tweak. But I think we got some good feedback.
I like that. So what would we call you? We can't call you an NBC News political correspondent when you're doing this endeavor. Can we come up with what you'd like? What would your term for it be? What would you like to be called?
Boy, that's a good question.
Thank you, Steve. What do you got?
Let me work it. Maybe that's one of the things we're going to have to sit down and come up with here in the next couple of days.
You could see Steve Kornacki, NBC News chief. It has to be chief playoff analytics correspondent, playoff analyst.
Okay, analytics.
Chief.
I like that you're saying chief and not senior, because I feel senior is the one they give you when you're kind of retirement age.
Sure.
So I'll take chief over senior.
Yeah, senior. Okay, chief. Playoff.
Lord of the board,
right? Analyst, right? That sort of thing.
I think you were onto something there with sort of analytics correspondent.
Okay.
How about analytics analyst?
I like it. That's for some people who talk fast, that could be dicey, but we'll figure that out.
Right.
A few more minutes left here with Steve Kornacki here on the Rich Eisen Show. Okay, sports is all about rivalries, right, Steve? It's about somebody raising their game, and their game is always compared to somebody else's game. Do you and John King have a rivalry, Steve? Is there a rivalry there?
It's funny. I don't think we've ever actually met.
Huh.
It's probably one of those things where we've been in the same room at some kind of a function or something, or an event.
Yes.
But I don't think we've ever met. He's from Massachusetts too. He's from Dorchester. I will go out on a limb and say he's probably a Pats fan too. So I'd say we're kind of on the same team there.
Okay, but when it comes to big board material, I mean, is there, would there be some sort of flex here? Like, I don't want to get drawn into anything. I truly respect what he does. Of course.
I really do, and he's been doing it, for a while now. And I don't get a chance, and I think this is probably true for him too.
Yes.
The way these election nights go, I never get a chance to see what anybody else is doing. I don't get to see what CNN's doing. I don't get to see what Fox is doing. I'm sure that's true for him. But before, I've been doing elections since 2014. Before I started doing elections in 2014, I certainly saw King then, and I truly have nothing but respect for him.
So do I, Steve. And again, it's as somebody who does live television for a living, it is truly remarkable what you did on election night and have been doing on election night. And I did, on occasion flip around. I did see what John did. I will tell you this, Steve. I don't know if John King could do his math like you can do on live television. I think you got him on just doing subtraction, certainly 5-figure subtractions in your head. You did that, if I'm not mistaken, this past election.
It's funny. I computational math, adding and subtracting.
Yes.
For some reason, I've always been really good at it, but my math skills do not go any farther than that. I was like the world's worst calculus student growing up, trigonometry. I was terrible at it, but I could do computational math, so it finally came in handy.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah, I think you subtracted 5 figures from 5 figures, and you carried ones and all that stuff in your head, and you nailed it down before computer actually updated it on your board. I watched that on live television, and I rewound it, Steve, and showed it to my children to say, this is why. Seriously. Steve, they're 12, 9, and 7. I'm like, this is why math is important right here. I showed that to them.
I'll tell you, it's something I developed kind of at a young age, and it just stayed with me. And there you go. I got to use it on national TV.
Okay, last couple of minutes, Steve. I'm going to ask you the question you get asked all the time. It's a different audience here. Add up all the pants that you have, the khaki pants that you have. The total would be what? What's the total number of pants that you have, Steve? I don't ask this of normal people as a normal question.
Single digits.
Okay, certainly single digits. Okay.
I'm going to say 5. I think 5 is probably the answer.
All the same color? What do you got? Is it all the same color?
I got 4 that are this the color I had last night. I got 4 that are like that.
Okay.
And I got one that's a slightly lighter shade.
Okay. How do you choose? How do you choose what's worthy of NBC Sports and MSNBC, or what's the choice process? Can you walk me through that?
Usually whatever is clean. But there seemed to be a reaction to the ones I wore last night seemed to get a reaction election week. I have no idea why, but they seem to. So I figured kind of last night I was talking to the NBC guys, and I was like, is there a wardrobe thing here? Do you want me to wear anything in particular? And they just said, no, just do what you did for the election. So I was like, okay, well, that takes the pressure off. I've got you covered there.
I mean, that would be like, to use the analogy that you will definitely get being a Patriot fan. It's kind of like seeing when Belichick shows up to a press conference in a full suit and tie. It's jarring. Like, wait a minute.
Right.
Does he actually wear a suit, like, ever? And then, so if you showed up in a suit, it would just be weird. I'll be honest with you.
See, I like that. If this means I've gotten myself off the hook for the rest of my life from really having to get dressed up, I'll take that.
Okay. I have two last ones for you, Steve, and I appreciate you calling in. I'm sure you've been pulled in many different directions here. Two last ones for you here. Did you think ever, well, I guess let's put it this way. If I came up to you and say September, and say by the end of the year, you will be on NBC Sports Halftime breaking down the playoff probabilities on Sunday Night Football as a halftime correspondent, or you would be named by People magazine as one of the sexiest men alive, which one would you say is even crazy? Which one's the craziest?
The second one is the craziest one, and you want to talk about where there might be vote fraud and where there might be tabulation errors. I think whoever added that up for that People magazine thing there, I don't know how I got on that list. I tell people they got the alive part right.
Are you saying that the Dominion voting system was used by People magazine? Is that what you're saying, Steve?
That might be the place to look, the People magazine voting, because trust me, it baffles me and it baffles most people who know me how that would have happened.
All right, so then let me top it all. Last one for you here. This would be, look, a career choice, but it would also be something greatly appreciated by me. Here on the Rich Eisen Show, we don't understand why in the playoff formats that you see of the teams on the screen that are division leaders are in one column, as you know, and then the wild card leaders are in another column, and then the teams on the outside looking in are in a third column. I don't know who came up with the phrase that's always used by everybody as in the hunt. I don't understand why that every single network uses that, except for this show. We use the phrase "sniffing it." Okay, that the it being the playoffs. They're sniffing it. If you do this again on Sunday Night Football, the phrase "sniffing it" instead of "in the hunt" or "on the outside looking in," that would mean the world to me. And I guess that means I'm a shell of a man. But would you consider it, Steve, to do that?
Let me see what I can do. Let me see if I can get that into my muscle memory for next week, or sometime in the next couple of weeks. I like doing favors, Rich.
Okay, Steve, that's not a no. Right, Chris? We didn't hear a no. We didn't say
not a no.
That's not a no.
Not a no.
We'll say okay. So I will be on the edge of my seat as you break down these big boards, like they are on election night. To hear the words "sniffing it" for teams that are on the outside looking in, like the Arizona Cardinals right now, they're sniffing it at this hour. They're sniffing it. That's all I need to hear. That's it.
I'm gonna. You know what? It's one of those things too. I want to run it by a few people to make sure there's not a meeting there that's gonna get me in trouble.
I'm in my 25th year of broadcasting of forgiveness rather than permission, and I'm telling you. You're in good shape, Steve. You're in good shape. So just give it a whirl. That's basically what I'm saying.
All right. I'll think about that one.
Thanks for the call, Steve. It was a delight to see you in this role last night, and a home run, to use the phrase from a different sport. Just great. So thanks for the call.
Thanks so much, Rich. Appreciate it.
You got it. Steve Kornacki right here. The NBC Sports chief playoff analytics analyst.
Yes.
NBC Sports chief playoffs analytics analyst.
CPAA.
There you go.
Steve. That was awesome.
That was so much fun last night.
Great.
And I learned it. And the producing. Look, at NBC Sports, Rob Hyland's crew doing it. They had the board set up where he also could change the board. He could move it around and circle it and do his thing.
It's what you want.
Do his thing, addressing the camera. And it was great. He stuck the landing. Start of today and at this hour, Arizona, 52% chance by Pro Football Focus to make the playoffs. San Francisco, and Chicago currently sniffing it. If I hear Steve Kornacki say that,
baby.
Rip the knob off. We'll do all we can do. That would be like a Costanza moment.
I mean, what more do we have to accomplish?
Sniffing it. least I made him laugh with sniffing it. That's it. Even if he doesn't say it. But you can't ask permission. You just can't. What's he going to do? Ask? By the way, Brian Williams would say, go for it. I know that.
For sure.
Brian Williams would say, go for it.
I mean, it's live TV. What are they going to do?
Yeah, what are they going to do?
It's live.
What are they gonna do? It just comes out.
What was that all about? I was going to say is Rich Eisen said to do it, and then I'll say, please forgive me.
Thank you,
That's why I
sir.
roll.
Yeah.
Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.